Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. And so we're going to go over our state ambassadors program and kind of how we see it morphing over the years. Do you want me to share the Google Slides, or do you want to? My computer is freezing up. I don't know if it's just mine or if it's everybody's.
I think it's just you.
Dang. Hold on. Yeah, it's frozen, Mike. If you can, I can't even see which slide it's
you want me to start talking?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, you're having
let me see if I can get this
because you've gone dark. You should also turn off your camera. It helps with bandwidth. Virginia, do you want to take over until it's my slides?
Sure. Do you want to move on to the next slide? All right, this is the agenda for today. Well, thanks for being here. Oh, I think she's back. You're back, Corey.
Okay. Yes. Thank you guys for being here. You can probably skip to the next slide. It kind of goes over the agenda. I wanted to make sure we welcome everybody. We're going to talk about our goals. We'll do a little introduction too, so everybody can introduce themselves, because I think a lot of people know each other, but there still are some new faces that are joining in. We'll also be going over what is SRF as an overview, so that way you can kind of see how we started and where we are now and what our goals are going to be. We'll also talk about being an SRF volunteer, what that entails, and all of that, what supporting families means, what the state ambassador program is, and then the next steps moving forward on what to do to kind of formalize your request to join the ambassador program. So next slide. If we want to go around the room and kind of let everybody say hello and who they are, who their Syngapian is, what state they're wanting to represent, that would be great. I'm in North Carolina, by the way. Let's see who's next on my screen. Hillary, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Hillary. I am in Michigan, like Grand Rapids area, middle of the state. And I am mom of Bryson, who turned 6 at the beginning of December.
Julie?
Hi, I'm Julie. I hope y'all can hear me. I'm eating lunch, sorry. I am in South Carolina, and I'm mom to Miller, who is 8.
Now, Mike, everybody knows you, but go ahead and introduce yourself in case they don't.
I'm Mike. I'm in California. Tony's 10.
Virginie?
I am Virginie. I'm in Indiana. Ty's mom, and he's 8.
Nick?
I'm Nick. I am grandfather to Miles, or Bubba, as he's known by me. I'm in Pennsylvania, but I live right next to New Jersey, so whatever you need there.
Lindsay?
Hi, I'm Lindsay. My daughter's name is Adeline. She's 9, and we live in Minnesota.
Yada?
Is muted.
Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. I'm Beata. My daughter is Kasia. She's turning 7 today. It's her birthday.
Oh.
We're in Arizona. And I'm, I guess, default Arizona person. So I'm honored to be here for you guys and for us.
Zoe? Or Zoe?
Sorry, couldn't find that mute. Hi, I'm Zoe. My daughter is Kaya, and she will be 4 in July. And I've never been in a space with this many Syngap families, so it's a real exciting honor to be here. And it's like so beautiful to see that we have this. So thank you.
Trey?
You're muted.
Upstate
Oh,
New-
we can't hear you.
You're not muted, but your mic's not working.
Let me see if does this work a little better?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
I'm Trey. I'm in upstate New York. There's a whole big world up here north of the city, and my son is Louis, and he will be 4 at the end of June.
Rainey?
Hi everyone, I'm Rainey. My daughter Hope is going to be 5 in July, and I'm in Northern California, very northern, like only about 2 hours from Oregon.
Lauren. Now everybody probably knows you, but still introduce yourself.
Okay. I'm Lauren Perry, and my son is Will, and he's 14, and I'm at his field day today. And I'm in Colorado. I'll represent Colorado.
Heather?
Yes, hi, Heather Messmaker. My son is Thomas. He is 11, and I am in Pennsylvania, also right next to New Jersey. So we'll have to connect in terms of
Well,
Pennsylvania to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New Jersey.
I'm in the Lehigh Valley. Where are you?
I'm in Upper Bucks.
Oh, you're not far.
There you go.
And Kevin looks like he stepped away from his desk. He might
he's
still
got a
be
lot of
connected with his
degrees.
earpods.
That's why he stepped away. He wanted us to see.
He wants us. He's showing off.
Yeah, he's just bragging. So our SRF mission is to improve the quality of life of Syngap 1 patients through research and development of treatments, therapies, and support systems. And so I just wanted everybody to know where we stand on that. All right, next slide.
Hey, wait.
Is that?
I'm Kevin.
Oh, is that
Kevin?
Kevin?
Sorry. I missed all the intros mostly. Kevin Fry. I'm what am I? The legal something.
Yeah, you're counsel, man.
SRF, and I'm in Mississippi. And as far as I know, there are Nathan, who's about to be 7, and 2 other Syngapians, one of which I've been representing in IEP meetings with his school district. Is a new family. So as far as I know, there's only 3 of us here, but good to see everybody. I like some new faces, and Zoe, I agree with you. It's great to always see families. It's a nice place to be. I think it was Zoe that said that.
Mm-hmm.
I keep telling you, Kevin, you could start a whole profitable line of business just doing IEP advocacy.
Oh, I'm doing it in Mississippi. I mean, I've gotten appointed I'm going to be the chair of the state advisory panel, which is mandated by IDEA for every state to have one, starting in July. They voted me on the panel, and within like 3 meetings, they made me the chair. It's a little bit absurd, but
3 more meetings, they'll be kicking you off. But
yeah, I know. Once I rile them up. Okay,
That's
sorry,
good.
Corey. Sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry I was late.
No, that's great.
all right. Do you want me to do the overview of SRF now, Corey?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So this is for some of you, these are slides you've seen before. This is old news. For some of you, it's not. But I think it's always useful to, I basically use a fraction of my slides here. It's always useful to go over this together to make sure we're on the same page. And, ideally, you guys are all going to be presenting these slides to other people at some point in time. So here we go. People like numbers, so I like to just start with numbers, even though the date is wrong on the top now that I'm looking at it. But SRF is 5.5 years old. We've committed $5 million to grants, and right now we have 14 families on our board, but we have 7 families who've stepped off the board. I'm sure this number is low. So we have families deeply involved at every level of SRF. We have over 200 patients profiled on our sites. We have sister organizations in UK, EU, and Latin America. That's the Colombian flag there. We have over 200 patients on Citizen, which is in large part due to Corey's and Virginia's good work. We've supported well over 25 institutions. We have a bunch of webinars on our websites, more content there than you could possibly count. We've counted 1,400 patients. We secured 2 ICD-10 codes. So this is just trying to put into numbers that we are an organization that gets things done, right? We are acutely aware of the clock ticking. Time is brain, and we want to use every minute we can to make the future better for Syngapians. So this is kind of like how I like to start people. It's a bit of a credibility builder. It's good to remind people how quickly this population is growing. We publish this number every quarter. When I started doing this, I got to about 300-ish, just from talking to other leaders and going through lists and mailing lists. And thank God for Jess Duggan and the team who works closely with Corey, and you guys will be a big part of this. We try to keep track of when people get diagnosed, and we all around the world, and we work closely with the other Syngap groups and other SRFs to update this number, and then we publish this number. And the number's low, right? This is just the diagnosed people we know about, but it's not. Obviously, there's diagnosed people we don't know about, and a bunch of people who have not yet been diagnosed. And the largest single population is in the U.S. And if you think about it, when we started this, the U.S. population was like, call it 150. Now we're at 400. I mean, Virginia and I remember the time when we basically had the whole population in our heads, and that's impossible now. And what we're looking to the state reps to do is to start becoming the people who keep track of their populations in their state and the surrounding states, so that we can really continue to understand and support and count our patients. Because in the not too distant future, we will have clinical trials, and you can't recruit for clinical trials if you don't know where people are and who's appropriate for the trial. So one of the things SRF does is count patients. It's real work, and it's gonna be something hopefully all of you are a part of. I also like to give people context about Syngap. This is one of my favorite slides. It's a little busy. It's very busy, but it's worth understanding, because I last updated this in March, and in March there were, if you look at the footer on the bottom, 273 publications that mentioned Syngap 1. And that bar graph across the bottom shows you when those publications happened per PubMed, which is a repository of scientific publications. So in 1998, which is that first paper, you can see when Syngap was identified, right, as a gene. It wasn't until 2009, 11 years later, that Michaud in Canada published this paper, identifying patients, a bunch of patients who had similar phenotype or presentation, and noticing that they all have mutations in Syngap1. So once you realize that, that's when the disease of Syngap1 began in 2009. And you can see there was sort of a slow burn of papers gradually increasing over the years. Tony was diagnosed in 2018. This publication came out then, and that's when Ashley and I created the Syngap Research Fund, which you see in those little circles across the bottom on the right. In 2019, 2 papers came out that described Syngapians based on about 40, 50 patients. These are really important papers, and they have been until recently the only real source of understanding our clinical phenotype. And it's worth mentioning that in those early years, it was really hard to get a genetic diagnosis. So the kids who were diagnosed were clearly very severe. And as time has gone on, we're learning more and more about Syngap, and we need to update our understanding that is described in those papers. And that's part of our work, is finding patients, getting them to participate in surveys, and helping get that information into the literature so that people understand better what Syngap is. The Syngap described in this neurology paper is much more intense than it's a little narrower in terms of the breadth of phenotype than what we see today. That was in 2019, right? 2020, the next year, you had this weird picture on the top with all the little dots. And that was a really important paper, because it said of all the genes that cause autism, there's a couple genes that seem to be really closely associated, and Syngap was the top of that. And that paper is called Satterstrom et al. And the reason that matters is because obviously Syngap is a very small rare disease, but autism is a huge problem in society. And understanding that Syngap is closely associated has driven a lot of research interest. Underneath that, you see another chart with a pink sort of bar chart. This is Fu et al., which was an update to Satterstrom 2 years later. And in Fu, you see that Syngap was the 4th most highly associated gene with autism. These papers are huge, N of like 30,000 kids or something. So these papers have really helped put Syngap on the map. So that gets us to 2019, 2020. And you see that those 2 little eyes there in 2020. And that was Citizen. That's when we launched a digital natural history study with Citizen in order to better understand our patients from their medical records. And hopefully we're all enrolled in Citizen. This has been a very big deal, and it's important to note this, not where this is on the chart, because I'll come back to it in a second. The next year, due in part to the advocacy, well, two things happened that really matter for our lives today. One, the Social Security Administration recognized Syngap 1, and that's because a Syngap parent went to SSA for benefits. They were denied. They fought like hell. And as a result of that fight, it became policy at SSA that Syngap is automatically qualifying. And I've told some people about this, and it's helped them with their discussions with the Social Security Administration. So that's a big deal. And that's a direct result of patient advocacy. Also, as a direct result of patient advocacy, we got our ICD-10 code approved in, I think it's 2021. Yeah, these are huge. This is how we've been able to count and get more industry interest. Industry loves that we have an ICD-10 code. We also began working with Rare Base there, which is those three little diagrams. The year after that, you had Satterstrom. The year after that, which was 2023, a lot happened, of course, but we also got our ICD-11 code. And then this year, you can see already the publication bar is shooting up. But then I included this epilepsia paper, and the epilepsia paper matters. Why? Because this is an update on the natural history, right? So I told you before, neurology was the only game in town. Now we have this epilepsia paper, which is a much bigger N and a more thorough representation of our population. And this epilepsia paper is based on what? It's based on the Citizen data that we've collected, right? So this is super helpful to connect the dots and say, look, the work we began 4 years ago resulted in a publication this year that now you can take to doctors and use it to inform discussions about meds and how the phenotype presents. So this is the takeaway from this slide. There's a couple takeaways. One of them is Syngap has only been around since 2009. We've only been finding this disease in humans since 2009. That's 15 years, guys. That's not a long time. And SRF's job is to make us go from a small rare disease to something where there's therapies and treatments as fast as possible. That's why we're all here. And to support the families with this rare disease in the process. Happy to talk more about this slide later. I just underscoring here, this is the Social Security thing, ICD-10, ICD-11. Don't worry about ICD-11. It's an investment in the future. The thing we need to know as Americans right now is the ICD code for Syngap 1 is F78.81. And all of us should be telling this to our doctors and making sure it's in our medical records. So why are we here? We're here because we need better drugs for our kids. I'm not going to belabor this slide or talk too much to it, but when I was diagnosed, this slide was empty. There was exactly nothing on it, right? Today, in the purple, we have small molecules where you can see that we are currently putting 4 different small molecules into kids. Fenfluramine and is being done in Spain. We had very little to do with that, but Wheel Cornell, Ravicti, nortriptyline with Rare Base, NAL with Chow, all 3 of these are very much as the direct result of the advocacy, investment, and hard work of the Syngap Research Fund. So, and so having 4 arrows under trials is a big deal. And then there's other drugs that where you can see we're funding some work, but pretty exciting to think that we now have drugs going into kids that we think are helping. And then even more exciting, the ASOs and the AAVs below it, these are precision genetic therapies that will be injected into the skull or into the spinal column and will hopefully upregulate Syngap in our kids. And this slide is out of date. I can already tell you there's another company I need to add to this slide. So a lot of good work is happening as a direct result of SRF, but SRF is nothing without the patients. And we need all of you to help us stay close to the patients. But the patients should come running to us because I could talk for an entire day about this slide, as could, I'm sure, Lindsay and Virginia and others who've been around for a while. There's a lot going on, you guys. And each of these companies on here is a company where, a number of us are in direct touch with everyone from the CEO down. They know who we are. They know we're in touch with the patients. They sponsor our conferences, and we are working closely together. So this is a super exciting slide. And I just want to, observe that the drugs alone won't do the trick, right? Getting these drugs is one thing, but the drugs need to go through trials. And really, if you think about SRF's work, right now, what we're talking about is supporting and engaging the diagnosed community, but then it will be helping these drugs become available. And the way drugs become available is they succeed in trials. And the way they succeed in trials is, first of all, trials need patients, right? So today our job is to support and connect with patients, but eventually our job will be to make sure patients are aware of clinical trial opportunities, because none of these drugs are going to get to be on the shelf and marketed without getting through a trial, and trials won't happen without patients. And so part of step one, get patients into trials. Step two, make sure those trials succeed or fail on the merits of the drug, as opposed to extenuating circumstances. And an extenuating circumstance would be, we stuck a drug that worked in kids, the kids got better, but we measured the wrong things, and so the FDA did not approve the drug. So now we have a drug that was made, that works, and we can't get it because the trial failed. The trial failed because we weren't ready for the trial. Right? This is what keeps me up at night, one of the things. And that's why we do this kind of work. So what you're seeing here is a couple papers that came out last year, where we funded this work. We work closely with the PI, and he's building a tool, and we're now funding more work with him. He's building a tool that we can use the laptops like we're all staring at right now, and let the camera on those laptops measure the attention of the viewer, which would be our kids, and score them. And you can see here in these purple circles the Syngap scores. This is a trial that is or a tool that is currently being developed, where there are publications, where we are building a data set that the FDA would then say, okay, this is a tool you can use in trials. And when these numbers go up, we know the drug works. It's pretty exciting. Similarly, I don't think Callie's on the phone, but Callie Worth has been working for years with Duke to help Duke take the ORCA, which is another scale that was designed for Angelman, is being expanded to other diseases. And Syngap is literally the very first disease they're expanding to, again, because SRF showed up, and in part because SRF said, you need 20 patients by next week, we can do that, right? Our ability to fill trials means that we are included in research. Our ability to fill studies means that people call us. And that is a huge part of the work we're all here to do, is to connect with patients, to help patients understand that research will get drugs into our kids faster, and that we all need to participate. So these are two really exciting things that SRF has been working on for years and are bearing fruit. And then, just as a reminder, our kids live a long time, right? We've all seen the Karen movie. And then again, on the right is, we are funding research right now with Dr. Andrade, and this is a slide she presented at a major meeting in Ireland 2 years ago, and where she's telling a room full of clinicians about what she's learning about Syngapians. A, that's great, because the clinicians go back and take care of our adult children. But B, it's a good reminder for families. Like, our kids are going to grow up, they're going to outlive us, and we need to be thinking now about how we're going to improve their lives. And that is the work of SRF. I talked about this a lot in my most recent podcast. So with that, that's just a high level, quick summary about SRF, why we matter, what we do. I can do a much longer version of this, but I don't want to consume the whole meeting. Please understand that the work you guys are here to do, connecting with and supporting patients in your geographies, feeds all of this. And we're really lucky you guys are here. Over to you, Virginia.
Thanks, Mike. I don't know if there's any questions. I know we have a lot to go to, but that was a lot to digest. Do you guys have questions? No, all good? Okay. So thanks, Mike. As you saw, we have a lot going on at SRF. I was very lucky to be working in the rare disease space and connecting with a lot of rare advocacy groups. And I can safely say that SRF is probably the fastest growing and fastest moving organization in the rare space. I don't think Mike will contradict me on that.
Nope.
We have organizations coming to us very frequently. We had several meetings this week from other organizations coming to us and say, how do you do this? Asking questions on how do we do it? And we need to keep that pace, because that's how we're going to get to therapy and help our kids the fastest. And to do that, we need help. We had at that stage where it just can't be that small team doing it all. We're all going to burn out, and we need more people helping. Corey has been supporting the families pretty much almost single-handedly, and she's done a wonderful job. But you saw the numbers. We are at, I mean, you saw the numbers. I'm saying you saw the numbers, and I forgot the numbers because I lost track. 400. And we getting how many new diagnosed, Corey, every week? Like it's
I
crazy.
don't know. It varies. Sometimes 5, sometimes 0, sometimes 10.
Right. So she can't do that alone. So the bottom line is we need help. And the more help we get, the fastest we're going to be able to help our kids. So thanks for all of you who showed up today. That means a lot to us. We're excited to have you here. And before I jump into like the boring, expectations of our volunteers at SRF, I want to kind of go back to what Zoe was saying earlier. There are some really great things of being a volunteer at SRF, like you joining a really good team. Meetings like this where you're constantly talking to other parents, like that's happening all the time, right? You're joining a team of parents. We don't talk about, when we talk about rare disease a lot, but not in a sad way, right? We're just being productive. We're getting things done. And that is super exciting. At least for me, like I feel like I'm being productive. I'm actually getting things done and I'm doing something about it. I'm not just sitting and waiting for others to hopefully help my kid. So if that's kind of what you're hoping to accomplish, then you're in the right place. All right. Corey, do you have anything else to add into what your team is going to be like?
No, I think you covered it pretty well.
Okay.
Do you want to just talk quickly through these?
I'll go through this and then we'll go into what volunteers. All right. So what are expectations of SRF volunteers? First, the commitment to the mission. That's like the number one priority. We all work toward the mission. That's what we're here for. And our main goal is to fulfill our mission. Always stay professional. That's, you're representing the organization. So that's what we expect for everyone working at SRF or being a volunteer for SRF is just to be professional. Reliability and accountability. So we understand we all have Syngap kids at home. So we understand that things happen and you might not be able to volunteer anymore or you have things change. Just let us know if your schedule change, if you're not able to fulfill your responsibility anymore, just let us know. Don't disappear and that's it. Like, just let us know. Confidentiality, you'll sign an NDA. So you'd have to fulfill your NDA. Treat everyone with respect. Compliance with policies and procedures. So you'll receive a volunteer handbook with policies and procedures. So you'll just have to comply with those. And conflict resolution, just be kind. If you have any issues, just come to Corey, your team lead, come to me, escalate to Mike if needed. But just be respectful with others. That's kind of like the basic that we're asking for everyone. That's all I got.
Yeah, and there's no gotchas in here. I mean, it's basically it all boils down to be decent and respect people's privacy. And I think we've all been there. We've all been through different phases of this. This is a really hard diagnosis, and when you start connecting with families, I can tell you, and everyone's seen this, like you walking into people's lives and you walking into the good stuff and the bad stuff. And it's just really important that we recognize that making sure people know the community is there for them is step one. And then bringing them in as and when they're ready. Some people just aren't ready and you say, okay, we're here. Here's my number. Call me whenever. And they're just leaving the door open. But there's a lot of dynamics at play, and we just have to be a source of hope and calm for the families who are absorbing this diagnosis.
Corey,
I'll shut up. Back to you, Corey.
Yeah, she's gonna go through that of what the rule is. Yeah.
Next slide. Oh, do you want to do this real quick?
Oh, yeah, so to apply to be a volunteer, you go to Betterfly. I think most of you have done that already. Sign up on the Betterfly, we'll send you the link. You'll meet the SRF team, which is going to be Corey and me. And then once you accept it, we'll go through the onboarding process. You'll get an email address. You'll be added to Slack. This is where we all coordinate as a team. You'll get sent the DocuSign, the code of conduct, and the NDA. And then you'll be listed on the website for your state so that people know who to contact in their state. And then you'll be connected with Corey, and then she'll get you all set up with your state, your contact lists, and then do the introduction with the families in your state.
So if we've already done the first three things, we don't have to do anything, correct?
Correct.
Great. Yep. Yep. The ball's with us, and we're working to get it there.
Yep.
Next slide.
All right, so we're going to talk more about supporting families, some do's and some don'ts. Support and guidance. Obviously, that's what our job is, to give everybody the support they need. Obviously, everybody's in a different part of their journey and their feelings. Some people are very devastated, while others feel relieved that they finally found an answer. So when you talk to them, you need to, figure out where they're at and meet them at that place. Try not to overwhelm them with information if they're in a darker spot. You can kind of trickle down the information slowly. I'll give more information to everybody once you get accepted and everything. We'll have like what I normally say to the new parents, questions I ask, and how I kind of trickle the information to them over time. So that way you have a good idea of how to, make your process your own. Obviously, everybody's personality is different and how they handle things. So once you get my information, you can kind of make it your own and do what you want to with it, as long as it's got the basic information in there. We'll provide links to all the websites, to the parents, the social media, the registries. Very, very important to get them into the registry of Citizen as soon as possible. Obviously, they'll have questions. We can do a little Q&A on Citizen. A lot of times there's small objections that people may have, and I'm happy to kind of train you guys on how to overcome those objections. Or at any time during the process when you're meeting with a new family or talking to a new family, if you get stumped with something and go, oh man, this person said this and I don't know how to answer it, you can reach out to me or Virginia at any time, and we'll answer the question for you so you can get back to that new family. And so obviously with the community engagement, we want people to be active on social media channels, share our Syngap Research Fund information, so that way everybody sees that information. Because what happens in social media is they have algorithms that work in the background. And the more you interact with people, the more those algorithms shove you in front of their faces. And so it's very important to interact with everybody's Facebook page, liking their birthdays, saying happy birthday, anniversaries or whatever, and do it genuinely. You're not doing it just to, show up in their algorithm, but it's fun to engage with them. And you happen to have a positive outcome from that engagement. And so it's very important. If we have any studies going on, make sure you share that on your personal Facebook pages too, because if they're not in the SRF group regularly, they may not see it in the SRF group's posts. We also want to collaborate, check in with the leadership regularly so that we would know the process or progress of all the new families. You can send me text messages, emails. Probably text messages are probably pretty good, and Slack will be the two main ways you can kind of let me know what's happening with everybody. If someone's got an issue, they have an IEP problem, or they need help with state resources, let me know and we'll connect them to the right person to help with that too. like Kevin said, he's helping with IEP stuff now for his state. So, well, we always try to make sure we get them the support they need on that end. Keep notes. You know, we have a system to make sure that we always know what's going on with people. So make sure you write down birthdays so we can send them birthday cards, or if they've had something happen terrible in their life, let us know so we can maybe send them a little gift to cheer them up. But our whole goal is to make them feel included. So any details we can get to maybe make their day a little bit better or help them out, that's always important. And empower other families to become advocates for themselves. The more they learn about the disease, and the more they can support themselves and feel in control of their lives, it's better for them. We also want to make sure they know about our Syngap stories that Ashley has done, where she interviews the parents, our Warrior Wednesdays that we post about each little Syngapian and who they are and what their journey was, any special events we have, like we just got through with the Sprint for Syngap fundraiser last weekend. So keep everybody in the loop on that. One thing we want to make sure we do not do at any time is give medical advice. We are not doctors. We are not geneticists. We can give tips and pointers and say, okay, this worked for my child, but I don't know if it's going to work for anybody else. If they have medical questions, we do have people that happen to be doctors that maybe can help out with some minor things, but again, we are not to give medical advice to anybody. We also want to assume they understand don't want to assume they understand how rare this disease is, what patient advocacy is, or if they're even ready to hear anything at the moment. And so make sure you really find out where they're at in the process, because you don't want to turn them off and turn them away or overwhelm them. It can be kind of touchy with that. And don't forget to take care of yourself. Pace yourself. We don't need to overwhelm each other or ourselves with all this work. You know, take a pace. If you get overwhelmed, let me know. The whole point of this team is to have backup for each other, so not one person is overwhelmed with anything. And so if everybody spreads the work out a little bit, it makes it easy for all of us and gets more done with less time involved. Next slide, that's us. So once you've applied and are accepted as a representative for your state, you're going to make sure that you know all the Syngapians in your geography. Make sure they know you. That way you have a relationship. You'll need to connect with all the families at least once a quarter, every 3 months. That, again, it sounds overwhelming, but there may be 5 people in your state. So it's not like you're having to touch 400 people in a quarter. That's a bit much. Make sure you have all the updated contact information. We'll have a way to make sure that everything is, I don't know whether it's a spreadsheet or how we're going to keep track of all that data, but we'll make sure that we have all the contact information. So again, we can send birthday cards, reach out to them for studies. We want to make sure we ask them how they're doing. Do they need any help? We kind of keep track if they're in Citizen or not. If they're not in Citizen, what can we do to get you to sign up today? Same thing with our other registries that we have, and ask them if they want to volunteer. They may not be able to do 20 hours a week worth of stuff, but they may be able to help out with an hour here, hour there, or doing a fundraiser. So we can always get them in touch with the right team, with whoever they want to volunteer with. And then we'll have quarterly meetings with the state ambassador program, just to kind of keep everybody in the loop. We'll all get to see each other's faces, chit chat a little bit, and find out what's going on in each state and how everybody's doing. Then So the next steps, all you'll need to do is fill out the volunteer form. We'll get you set up in Slack once you're approved as a volunteer. And in Slack, we have different channels. The channel that is going to be the main one for the state ambassadors is the Group 2 state ambassadors. We'll walk you through it. If you're not familiar with Slack, I had no idea what Slack was until they got me into Slack. And it took me a little while to get oriented in there. But that's where we all communicate and talk regularly. Again, it's all parents and everything. So it's not only a great place to keep up with information like this, but you'll find like there's other channels such as the general channel where you can ask questions more privately than you would on Facebook and get feedback directly from other parents. So I think that is the majority of it. Anything you want to add? Anybody have any questions?
I have
So
worries or?
But before we jump into questions, I am recording and we want to share this with other people curious about the program. So let's divide questions into stuff you want for the record, and then I will stop recording if there's other questions you don't want on the record. So for the record questions.
I have two things. The first one should go on the record, I think, for everybody. Mike, I just am curious about your facial hair, your whole hair. It's like a midlife crisis. Like every time I see you, you look different. And I'm just wondering if we should all comment or if you're doing okay. I'm just checking on you, Mike.
I appreciate your concern.
He's looking good.
He does look good.
I was a little worried. I was gonna miss the man bun.
No, I guess COVID has allowed you to go back to the stylist, huh?
Yeah, so well, you know, thanks for asking that important question that is so germane to this community. You know, this is how I've lived most of my life, looking shorn. And as you may recall, there was a large pandemic where we were not encouraged to go out, and so I sort of let my hair rip at that point, and I kind of was having fun with it, and I kind of liked it. And then it was getting a little scraggly. I mean, I don't know how much detail you want, but really what happened like a week ago is one of my boys came home with lice. And, you know, so we washed it and we shaved his head and then we shaved his brother's head because I'm like, I'm not dealing with it. And then my nanny, thank God, was helping me check heads. She looked at me and she's like, I'm not touching that. I was like, here's a good point. So I just took because I had just subjected both of my boys to a haircut. And Tony was like, whatever, you know, Dad does this to me before EGs. John was pissed. He was like, where'd my hair go? I want my hair back. Give me the glue. So sort of in solidarity, I broke out the clippers and just was like, and now here I am.
Did it yourself?
Fun of me.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Mike.
You can't tell. I mean, it's good work.
It looks great. No, it does look good. The second thing I was going to say, just, you know, I am in Mississippi. I'm a lawyer. I didn't practice law in the special ed space until Nathan, and I had to teach it to myself. But I'm happy to talk to anybody from any state for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, just about education related stuff at any point. You know, I've got I like Mike's, you know, focus and SRF's focus so much on, you know, future with some treatments for our kids. But in the meantime, it's at least my opinion that school and the education that we're putting our kids into can be pretty significant in their development. And I know all of our kids are different, but I've got, you know, Nathan's in a regular class. He's got a one-to-one aide. He's doing great. And there's a way to get there, but I think the best way to get there is to start before your school age. And so a lot of these newly diagnosed families are young, and there are some things you can do immediately to lay the foundation to force the schools to do better. Anyway, that's all I got to say. Thank you, Mike, for giving me a platform.
One thing, yeah, thank you, Kevin. One thing, since you were talking, it reminded me that I need to bring up one thing. One thing we don't do either is disparage anybody else. So never talk bad about any other group or organization. That kind of goes without saying. Or talk to other groups and organizations. Just that's going to be part of the NDA, but we want to make sure we remain professional and Mike may want to elaborate more on that, or Virginia, but we're professional, we're positive, we are the light for people. We don't want to bog down people with more drama. We want to be positive. So we want to make sure
And
that
if
we
people
maintain that at
if
all
people have been
times.
sucked into the toxic black hole of other people's drama and they really want to talk about it, send them to us. I mean, there's a lot we could go in a lot of different directions. Right? We talk about NDAs. Your job that you're asking to do, and we are grateful to it, is to be the face of SRF in your geography, period, end of thought. You want to have these 2, 5, 10, 20 people in your geography on your phone and text with them. Your job is to be their link, right? Our families go through medical crises, school crises, their own personal crises. There's way too many broken marriages in this community because of the toll that this disease takes on people's sanity, right? You just want to be a positive link for them. And you know, there was a question in the chat about how there's like people who've consented to be contacted. If people let us know they exist, we can contact them. If they don't call us back, that's fine. Ping them again in 3 months, right? Like the goal here is really simple. Be a good person, connect with, and then connect the people in your state, right? So one of the things that has been most powerful for me has been saying to someone, hey, do you know that there's a Syngapian who lives like 5 miles from me? Have you ever met? Because and then they meet, and then in that connection, they're like, whoa, right? Just the idea that there are other families and that you can do this and get on the phone with 15 other family, or however many people we are, and have this opportunity to not be alone is novel for some people who are in the rare disease black hole, right? So then there's a lot of next steps. Like there's trial recruiting, there's clinical trial recruiting, there's research study recruiting, there's helping people, there's connecting them to IEP advocates, there's all the things that will come. But step one is to have the relationship. And a lot of people have called me and Virginia and Corey and said, how have you recruited so many people to Citizen? What is your secret? What is your process? What is it? I mean, the process is so simple. You pick up the phone and you call them and you say, what's up? And then they say, I'm busy. And then you call them the next week and you say, what's up? And then the third time they're like, oh yeah, I should do that. What is that thing again? Because they're all drowning. They're all drowning, right? So it's straight up being a good person, connecting with people. Like it's nurturing your inner Corey. That is this job. It is being a little beacon of light for the people in your geography. Like get a little picture of Corey, put it on your desk and be like, what would Corey do? Right. And then that's it. That's the work. And everything else will come. You don't have to be a medical expert. You don't have to be an IEP expert. You don't have to be a drug expert. We have people for all those things. But where those of us, me, Virginia, Corey, are getting just slammed is in the sheer volume of people coming at us. And I think you guys will all enjoy being connected locally and then with each other. I'll shut up.
Yeah, and I'm not opposed to having more than one person per state. I mean, we've got some big states, and there's going to be days or times where you may be overwhelmed. So you're like, I can't do anything right now because I've got this crisis happening and I'm not able to participate. So having a backup person is a great thing. You can kind of make it a team thing if you want to. So I wanted to address that. And also, if there's anybody from other countries, I had somebody from Slovenia that was like, hey, I'm gonna help be the Slovenian representative. That's great too. We're not branching that far out quite yet, but that's going to be coming soon too. So go ahead and sign up and we'll put you down for that as well.
Corey, quick question for you. Do you already have a sense of the places you have people and or needs, right? Like in your mind, do you have I think of a heat map, right? That there's a bunch of people over here. These states don't have anyone. Like where do you need people specifically, I guess is, the question.
So are you asking where we need state representatives?
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yep. Yeah, everywhere. I mean, we obviously have a list that we've gotten as people have filled out the request forms, but there's still a lot of needs. And again, California, there might be a need for 3 people in California. You got one for the north, one for the south, and one for the middle. So I really urge anybody that has any interest to fill out the form and apply, because we have a lot of gaps.
What we'll do is
And
we'll
there's
very
50 states.
very soon we
And
will have a map of where we have state reps, and then that the gaps will become obvious.
And right now it could be, like Corey said, you could be busy you could have 5 new patients in 1 week. So it could be really busy for 1 week and then nothing for a few months, right? Like in Indiana, we don't have a lot of patients, and I could have months with nobody here. So you could be bored as a volunteer. We have a lot of other places where we need help. And we're going to have a webinar at the end of month where we list and we'll present all of the other areas in the organization where we need volunteers with all the other positions. So if you're interested in getting more involved in the organizations, we're welcome to do that. And you can reach out to me, you can email me today, and then we have the list. And so I can walk you through the list today and find you another area where you can go. Sorry,
just
sorry,
one
I'm
thing.
already pulling your volunteer somewhere else, but you can do double duty.
Any more questions?
I just want to make a comment. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, also like a therapist, and I just feel like this is so amazing. Like this feels like a clinical space, and I just feel like it's so important. I also feel like there's going to be a lot of what we call counter transference. You hear someone else's story, it's going to trigger your own experience. Like there's just a lot here. So I'm really happy to hear there's going to be a space that we all get to also be together to highlight things that went well, what's challenging. But this does feel like, I'm sure every ask is a tall ask, and I'm new to this organization, so I don't know, but I just appreciate everyone's bravery for being in this and stepping in this. And Corey, I can't believe you, and Virginia and Mike, I know Mike's been my person and holding Mike. Anyway, it's just a lot. And I just appreciate that we're creating this. And I just know this is going to create a whole other level of belonging and support, and just on so many levels. I just can imagine that this is just so needed. So I'm really honored to be here.
One other thing that would be good too, I think we have a Tuesday night family Zoom that we do each week. Now we've kind of thrown back and forth the idea of having it every other week in the summertime, because it kind of ebbs and flows a little bit more in the summertime. We might have 1 week where there's 10 people and then 2 weeks where there's no people because everybody's busy. But it'd be nice too if we could get a volunteer to help out with that meeting each week. Help. Most of the time, myself or Heather Bench runs the show on Tuesday nights, and it's most of the time Heather, but she gets times where she's overwhelmed because she's working or she doesn't have caretaker, and vice versa. So that'd be a great way, even if you can't lead the meeting 1 week, you can always join the meeting and kind of get to know the other people too, or encourage people in your state to join. Again, they don't have to join every week, but once in a while, just so that way they have that connection and get to meet everybody. Because if you hadn't joined, it's pretty fun to go in there. Beata, she comes, and Rainey has been, and Julie. So I think, Kevin, you've even been a couple of times, and Hillary definitely has been. So
I know
everybody's at least been once.
I went once, but I missed how to get on or something. I must miss anyway, you can talk about that later.
We usually post in the group page right before it happens on Tuesdays. If we go to the every other week, we're going to do more marketing ahead of time to kind of shove people in and make them realize, so that way it can make the weeks even have more people, because it's hard for people to see it. If it's happening in an hour and they haven't looked at Facebook in an hour, they forget, there's a meeting tonight. So we'll do a little bit better job of.
Hey guys, we're at the bottom of the hour. A few of us are going to have to drop. I just want to say one thing, and then I got to go call someone else. Hopefully we've given you enough structure that you know what the ask is. Be that positive person, that face of SRF in your geography. But I also want to give you license to do it your way. There's no like, you can text people, you can call people, you can have a barbecue, you can not have a barbecue. The ask is simple. Just connect with your community. And, you know, we're going to ask you to convey a lot of things to them, opportunities and the welcome, etc. But we also want to hear back from you. Like if you come out of a call with 3 or 4 families, you're like, everyone was saying they don't know how to do X, or they wish SRF would do Y, or whatever. We want to hear that. I think part of the reason SRF is so successful in the early days is because Virginia and I and a few others were doing it all, and we were getting that feedback from families. And now I'm so sucked up into so many other things that I don't get as much direct feedback. So please, you know, don't hesitate to, if you come out of something you're like, this needs to happen, tell us. And we'll tell you yes, or we'll tell you, yeah, we tried 2 years ago, it was a train wreck, and didn't, you know, you never know. But we've done a lot. There's been a lot of failed experiments, and we're happy to have the conversation. I'm gonna stop recording. I think. Did I already? No, I didn't.